My name is Ana Paula Souza. I'm a human rights officer at the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. So my whole trajectory in life has been that I'm a lawyer by training. I left Brazil in 2002, moving to London. But while I was still in Brazil, we were doing a lot of, I did law school, which is usually more conservative. But even when I was doing law school, I was working on different projects with communities, bringing or bringing more like notions of human rights, democracy, constitutional rights to communities in the suburbs, in favelas or trade unions. So for me, engaging with people, understand, I believe on power to the people. I believe that we are not just victims. There is we when I say like we as all of us, they are not holding positions of powers. We can also do something. So that always been motivating me. And I moved to London, and in London, I was always working on issues related to justice. So I've done a lot of work with uh, people that have been tortured, people that have been arbitrarily detained, evicted, but also people that have been victims of contemporary forms of slavery, trafficking, servitude, um, sale of organs, and so on. So I have been child soldiers and so on. So this has always been motivating me. I've done some litigation on those cases. I have been, doing several things until I made my way to the UN, and I arrived at the UN as a fellow, working on the voluntary fund on contemporary forms of slavery. And then what I had to do was like, since it's a funding, we were analyzing a lot of like grant proposals, no? And you get so much more attached to the stories of the people that you are there trying to help. If I can use the role that I have to bring a voice to help those that don't feel that they are visible enough, because no one should feel like that, but we know the reality is different, that is what motivates me. When you are in the UN, you cannot forget, I'm not in a senior high position. I don't call the shots, but we still are in a position of privilege. And I think that has to come with a duty to serve. And I have this very, very present for me. I have moved into working on issues of environment degradation in 2022 specifically. Before I have been working on that, but amongst other thematics, like I've spent many years working on the rights of indigenous peoples. How can you not be working on that if you're working with indigenous peoples? I've worked a lot with on caste-based discrimination. I also like to open areas of work in the office where people are being invisible. So when I started working in 2022, I moved to the environment and climate change team. Remember, I got there, I mean, you always think like, oh, I'm going to be working on climate change. Everything's climate change is like what we associated. And then my supervisor came to me and said, Anna, we need to work on multiple planetary crises, and we don't have any program in the office on pollution. Can you work on that? And by the way, there is a negotiations on a treaty on plastics starting, tomorrow. And I was like, okay. I was not like really like excited, but I was like, okay, I like to open new areas of work. Because I like to do the thinking and see like what, like, okay, challenge accepted. I never could imagine that I would find such a passion and a connection working on those issues. And because it's And there is no way that it doesn't become also personal, to be honest. The reason that we are working is because it's impacting the environment that we live in and is impacting our health. So it is a human issue. And if it's a human issue, it is a human rights issue. When you talk about health, it's a concept. Yeah. If you talk about environment, it's a concept. The moment that you attach right to, right to health, right to a healthy environment, that changes, that becomes an obligation. When you have duty bearers, you have rights holders. That's how we understand who has to do what when it comes to the human rights framework. What inspires me, what motivates me is justice. And the issue of chemicals, how that has an impact on gender, it's a matter of justice. And there is huge information gaps when it comes to underrepresented groups in vulnerable situations, and the whole global south. So important to make science accessible to all as well. And I think this is a strategy that is important, because if people do not know, they don't know. We don't know what we don't know. That's a simple fact. It's simple. It's very simple. We do not know what we do not know. So, let's start with that. So I think bringing this awareness, otherwise even policy will not be able to know. I think that to be informed correctly. And then in terms of this policy science, that's what we need. No, it's the policy science. What we say is like, we need science. And what bridges the science to the policy? It's human rights. Yeah. So human rights is that bridge between the science policy interface. We need more data, and we need more data on these black spots, those spots that we don't get any information. We need more visibility, but it needs to be matched, of course, with policies, And if the policies are not sufficient, that needs to be matched with strategies to hold those who are polluting our bodies and the environment to account. Maybe we just need to continue doing what we are doing, but with more and more partners. I think that's what we need. We need to connect a lot more. That's our homework. And when I say our, I'm using this our very loosely. Ours means anyone working on issues related to gender and chemicals. We need to get bigger alliances, more solidarity, because there is so much that needs to be done. Everybody's trying the best we can. Resources are a huge issue. It's a huge issue for us, for you, so we need to be clever on how so we are multiplying rather than dividing.